So on the topic of what can we do with great EUV, let's talk about silicon quantum computers. I'm happy to introduce Andre from Diraq.
I have a very loud voice, though. Yeah, so I thank you very much for the warm introduction. It is silicon quantum computing, but I don't have a slide explaining this, so I'll preamble. It's not dopant-based silicon quantum computing, but I would very much enjoy a better UV. So yes, let's. And I'm kind of ashamed that I didn't include more physics in my slides because I had so much fun with this event. Thank you very much for putting this together, Will. This is going to be a little bit more on what you expect from the final product than how did we build it, or how are we building it. So first thing is surely people who are sitting here would already know a lot of this, but quantum computing has some potential impact in the world, especially when it comes to certain niche applications, right? And these niche applications are actually pretty big niches, such as drug discovery and development of new materials. New materials are what define full ages of mankind, right? So being able to have some computer aiding to that would be, of course, quite important. There are some potential applications in AI that's being investigated, so I wouldn't necessarily count on that at this stage, but the list keeps growing, and it's hard to grow it too fast because large quantum computers are still not available, and you actually need them to be quite large. This has to do with the fact that qubits are trying to leverage quantum mechanics, and quantum mechanics has the tendency to just die over time, right? We heard earlier, I think Gilles made this point that coherence has a relatively short time to work with. So, and in order for you to circumvent that, you need a lot of qubits, a lot. So typically we're talking about 100,000 to even get started on a true error-corrected application. 100,000 is probably quite optimistic, to be honest. So that's the main premise of what we're doing. We're trying to build the qubits that can scale to billions that will actually unlock all of this potential, right? To do that, we had to, again, Gilles already made my point earlier, we had to move to more scalable technology, which is silicon, right? Superconducting qubits, which are the current leaders, go up to 1,000 qubits or so in a chip. And at some point, everybody made my points already, so it's so easy to do this talk. At that point, you need interconnects. So we heard from MQ earlier, and people are working hard at that problem. But the approach that we took is instead making our qubits much smaller, and I'm going to show you more information about that, such that we can fit a full error-corrected quantum computer in a single chip. So that's where the billions come from. I like to explain it in a little bit more detail because it sounds like, okay, yeah, sure, you're going to get to 1 billion qubits, and IBM is struggling with 1,000. But there is, if you understand the physics behind it, there is a very logical reason why. Okay? This ENIAC, right? Everybody's seen this picture before. It's basically the problem behind scaling past, say, 1,000 qubits or so with superconducting technology. You're trying to individually wire up qubits, and these qubits still have to sit in a fridge. So that's very challenging. It just doesn't scale well, and it didn't. And we have history of that, right? That's what. The creation of integrated circuits is exactly what unlocked all the potential for compute that we have nowadays, right? That's basically trying to repeat this history is what Diraq is trying to do. And it wasn't easy at all, right? It took us 20 years to figure out how to do this. So There's a basic science era, right? And that ended in 2013. So it's not just the basic science that goes into making good qubits. So up to 2013, our group, I wasn't part of the group yet, but I was already doing quantum computing, was basically experimenting with silicon-based quantum computing and its various little decisions that you have to make into investigating that. And in 2013, we landed in a particular technology that is electron spins in electrostatic quantum dots, right? Those work really well for us. Works really well with the installed capacity of the CMOS industry, right? So it's more readily technology to transfer across to foundries. And then from that point on, it's been work uphill to demonstrate that we actually can make qubits out of that, right? We need very solid demonstrations, scientifically principled demonstrations to convince folks in foundries. They know their physics, right? So that takes us all the way to 2022 when we were ripe for commercialization, and that's when we founded Diraq. So and that's the point where our worth stopped being measured on Nature papers and started being measured on how often can you appear on Forbes or whatever. It's a bit sad, but it's true. And luckily, we got a lot of traction in the media over the fact that they realized that if you can make spin qubits work in foundries, then you unlock a massive scaling potential. So just quick snapshot to convince you we have very good qubits. It would take me more than 15 minutes to convince you of all the aspects that I'm showing here quickly. These are not even the good metrics to begin with, but they're the ones that I get asked. So you can take a picture now and you can ask me later, but I can tell you also why these are not the good metrics. But here is where we really started, gaining attention is on the fact that we started these partnerships with foundries, IMEC, which is R&D foundry based in Belgium, and Global Foundries, I think no need for introductions, we have a three-way partnership, and it's really a partnership. It's not just taping out in their foundries. We actually have been discussing, even before we founded our company, on exactly what are the tweaks that we would need in their process to make quantum effects more prominent. They're already naturally there, right? We're talking about nanometric devices. So you're actually, most of the time, fighting them off, right? Here, we're trying to bring them up. Right? And the cool thing is that straight out of the box, first measurements that we did in these IMEC devices, very high fidelity, single qubit operation. So it's not the whole story yet, but these devices are a joy to work with. It's so easy, right? You cannot compare what we can do in a shared facility in a university with what a huge team of engineers with decades of experience can do, right? So these materials are amazing to work with. So that's the premise, right? And how do we compare? Okay, if you extrapolate this into the future, what sort of product are we talking about when you think about how to scale up these qubits? A few things. One is these are good qubits to begin with. The spin qubits are good to begin with. So with the possibility of really scaling them up to billions, you're talking about a really powerful quantum computers. You're not talking about a small edge, such as a lot of the resource estimation is, okay, what can we do with 100,000? What can we do with 1 million? We're talking about here, okay, don't worry about numbers anymore. It's, come up with a new algorithm, whatever you want. And this still is all in one chip. And this chip actually operates at 1 Kelvin, which sounds daunting if you don't understand the physics of cryogenics. But if you do, you would love 1 Kelvin. 1 Kelvin means 1 million times the cooling power of 10 millikelvin, which is what everyone else is doing, the superconducting qubits. Right. Because it goes temperature cube. One piece of physics in, in my talk. So that means that the whole computer can fit one refrigerator. It doesn't have to be a warehouse, right? So I'm gonna have a little bit more of a discussion of that. And then all of a sudden it becomes this thing where a smaller system just has more applications. So you can imagine, instead of having one of these, having 100 of these and running 100 algorithms in parallel, which is probably what you need when you're talking about, say, drug development. You're talking about testing different molecules and different ideas at the same time. You cannot test them linearly in a massive single quantum computer that would occupy this whole warehouse, which is what most companies in quantum computing are building, right? Now, this might raise some questions, and I'm happy to discuss them afterwards. What I would say, there's no this last one, right, which is the size of our own quantum computer. I can tell you it's going to be more or less the size of a human being. That's the final quantum computer with at least millions of qubits easily can fit there. And then that's the comparison with don't trust my calculations. These numbers that I've been putting there, those are my calculations, right? So, but don't trust them. Just trust the fact that I took these images from IBM website, PsiQuantum website, IonQ website. So I'm not making this up. This is really what a quantum computer looks when you are focused not on the scalability as in shrinking, but scalability as in multiplying the number of chiplets that you're interconnecting, right? And not too hard to make the case that this means that our computer will be cheaper as well, but that's just obvious, right? All right, so this is just to revise. I don't know if I have enough time, 2 minutes. Maybe I'll spend 2 minutes instead focusing on one of the main reasons for my trip. So we're based in Sydney, Australia, right? And one of the main reasons why I really wanted to be here, the CEO, by the way, apologizes. He wanted to be here to address you all directly, Andrew Diraq, is because we are hiring, and we are hiring in the United States. So we just had a very successful raise. Thank you very much, Quantum Nation, leading this. Thank you. And as part of that, the plan is for us to have both business and technical operations in the United States, right? So if any of this resonated with you, come and have a chat. We have some really cool physics happening, but also some really world-changing potential in this technology. Thank you very much.